So, good morning everyone. I'm Nick Bircher from Zenith Optimedia. So the slide that I use a lot is this one. So it's the idea of, and you probably heard the words going around the industry, the idea of paid, owned, and earned. I think what you find is this is how the world is now made up. It's not individual things, it's these three areas. So if you move along, we've got, first of all, in paid, we've got the traditional type of things. So the TV advertising, newspapers, outdoor. We've got digital areas like kind of display ads, search, affiliates, mobile ads. Next phase, owned, again, changing. So traditionally it was websites and microsites. It's now about brand pages and YouTube channels and apps. You've still got the things like stores and product, but you've got this whole area of owned kind of properties. And then the last piece is earned. So earned is the conversation. It's the idea of, so on here we've got things like events and blogs and YouTube, Twitter, etc., forums. But this is either, from an advertiser perspective, this is either people saying, help, my phone doesn't work, and then the potential for an advertiser to step in and say, or a marketer to step in and say, let me help you with that, I can fix it. Or it's the idea of people sharing things, people passing around content, having discussions, behaviors kind of linking together. So that's kind of how things are set up, and I think the interesting things is when you start to explore in these three areas, you find Facebook, Twitter, YouTube in all three of these areas. And what gets very hard for organizations is traditionally the paid media has been over there, the PR has been over there, the website's been somewhere else. All of it links together. So when you talk about doing something on Facebook, are you talking about paid ads? Are you talking about community? Are you talking about an owned page? Are you talking about applications? And the thing is, it's very hard to do one without affecting the other areas. And that kind of brings me through to the main point on this slide, the arrows. So it's all very well talking about paid, owned, earned, but you need to understand how it links together, how they complement each other. This is where the arrows come in. So paid, we've known for a while, you can have a paid ad that says, go here now, go to my website, go to my store. That's kind of how paid advertising has functioned for as long as we can remember. But paid advertising, the arrow across the top, can also drive conversation now. So if you're concentrating spend, if you're kind of running big impactful displays, if you're doing controversial things, potentially that can also drive conversation. So you've got paid starts to function in two ways. You've also got content in the middle, so if you've got engaging or innovative or creative content, that can drive conversation. And on the flip side, the conversation can drive traffic to your content. Earned media, therefore, you can use for advocacy purposes, retention. You can also use it to help with awareness. So what you find is this content flows into the conversation, which flows back to the owned media, etc., etc. And then the last piece is the link, the arrow across the bottom, the feedback loop. So actually, when you start thinking about the conversation, people talking can help your paid media. So it might be from insight, it might be seeing people's behaviors, it might be seeing what people are saying, all of those sort of things can inform your strategy. But it may also be in more practical terms. So if people talking and having conversations is producing natural search results for you, that can then help your paid search to work harder. So all of these things, it's the arrows on this, it's not the idea of paid, owned, earned, it's the arrows and the idea that it's linked together. So how does that work? I'll give you an example. So BMW searches in the UK. So over the last 90 days, the highest day for BMW searches was April the 1st. Why was that? It was a press ad. BMW for the last 10 years have run an April Fool's Day ad, always a joke ad, so in newspapers. So this year they launched the Royal Edition, which comes with an adapted badge on the back that spells Will. It's all about, to celebrate the royal wedding, we're launching the special edition car. 3 different colours, regal blue, etc., etc. But the thing is, they've built up a reputation for this. So they do this every year for the last 10 years. So this year, when you start looking at the searches, you can see people are searching to find out what BMW have done today. On the flip side, the newspaper is pushing people to search for more information about it. And all of this plays out in Twitter, in the conversation areas. It can go the other way. You've got the conversation can drive people to, let's say, broadcast. So there's a great example on HBO in the US back in February. You had HBO was showing a rerun of Private Parts, so a 14-year-old movie being shown yet again on TV. But people flocked to watch it because the star of Private Parts, Howard Stern, started doing a director's commentary on Twitter. So you suddenly get this idea of a social imperative to view. You must watch it live. There's no point watching it on VHS, as that film was, or anything else. You want to watch it now and participate in the conversation. And that plays back to Damien's figures. I had the figure of 36% using the internet whilst watching TV, but you've got this idea that people are consuming content from two areas at once. Well, we've been using the phrase amplified present, but it's the idea that what you do on TV can have a knock-on effect online, and what you do online can have a knock-on effect on TV. And this is just one of the quotes from one of the tweeters saying, "Damn you, Stern, you've got me glued even though it's nice and sunny outside." You also get this idea, so the feedback loop coming across the bottom, it creates opportunities for content. So if you're listening and you're seeing what the trends are, you can start to capitalize on it. So there was, for those of you who don't know about cricket, it's fairly epic. Australia against England, been going on for however many years in a series called The Ashes. There's a 23-year-old American lady called Ashley Karikis, who was known on Twitter as @TheAshes. So you had all these people sending her cricket-related messages and her not caring about cricket whatsoever. You then had the BBC cricket commentators encouraging people to go and send her messages. It then all started this people coming together, teach the Ashes the Ashes. So it's people teaching her the rules. That morphed into get the Ashes to the Ashes, and Qantas, who'd had a Twitter account for, I think it was 10 days at this point, stepped in and got the Ashes to the Ashes. So they got this American lady from the US to the test in Sydney. She met the Australian Prime Minister, she had lunch with Steve Waugh, all of these things. But great thing for her, she's on Twitter, she gets a trip across the world and all these other things. But from a Qantas point of view, this is this kind of idea of this isn't paid media, this isn't PR as you would have had it, it's capitalising on a trend and getting people, I'm telling you, discussions all around the world happening with it. And I think the other point is this idea of the screens and content fusing. So there's an amazing thing at the moment. Angry Birds, I assume most of you have wasted portions of your life trying to fire red birds from catapults. But the latest version of it actually ties in with a film. So Rio is just about to come out in cinemas. It's about birds and Rio, I believe. It's been matched up with Angry Birds, the game. So there's now an Angry Birds Rio version, which is fantastic to play with. But the point is, if you look at the marketing for it, the posters for Rio drive people to download Angry Birds Rio. The game drives people to the kind of marketing for the film, and so on and so forth. So you start having, they've got trailers on YouTube as well. So you've got online video, you've got TV, cinema, mobile, everything's kind of fusing together and driving each other. I think that's the point with this kind of content. I don't know if anybody's seen the Masters iPad app at the moment. Just come out to watch the Masters. It's free, but it's fantastic. You can get video highlights on it. You can get scorecards for all the leading players. You can click on any hole and see a replay from it. There's helicopter flyovers over the course. It's amazing content, and it's helping you have a better experience. So it's not just about having content for the sake of it. You know, Angry Birds Rio, great thing. It promotes the film, but it gives you something to do. The Masters iPad app makes your experience better. BA boarding cards through the BA app. You can get your boarding card, you can track your flights, all these kind of different things. So it's content that's improving the experience and what you're doing. So everything links together. So the point with this, though, is, I think this kind of sums it up. So the trick to marketing is to have something so cool, you want to talk about it even if you weren't in the business. So it's all very well having case studies that we all enjoy, but it's having case studies that my mother and people like that would enjoy as well. So there's this thing around content. You've got to have great content. But you've also got to get it noticed. So if it's, I think, the late 24 hours of video goes to YouTube every minute, why is anybody going to watch your video? Why is anybody going to engage with what you've made? You need to kind of drive people to it. And the two things with that, one is critical mass. So you need to get above the parapet very quickly. People follow other people. So if there's something that everybody else is talking about, you'll talk about it as well. So you need to get that mass around it very, very fast. And the best way of doing it, ironically, is paid media. That's it. So if you ignore anything else I've said, just take out the point of everything links together and everything we need to do needs to focus across those three areas. Thank you.